Good afternoon and welcome to our LinkedIn Live, our monthly LinkedIn Live with the lovely Gina London. Gina, tell us a little bit about yourself for people who don't know who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Sam. I have the privilege, folks, of working with amazing, committed individuals, emerging leaders, C-level global executives from multinational companies with that combination in common of wanting to impact internal and external audiences with more humanity. And that is really what I do. I do coaching, speaking, training, presentation, storytelling, you name it. If it's under that umbrella of intentional, purposeful communications, that's what I do, is help people feel like they're more confident and comfortable about how they connect with others and themselves.
Yes, and you do it so well, I have to say, Gina. And today we're going to talk about how to show up and stand out when you're maybe going to an event, or maybe you're going to do a presentation, or maybe even a casual work barbecue, which might be happening, Gina, during the summer. So, can you give us a couple of tips? And we'd like to welcome Kareem, who's just joined us.
Hi, Kareem. Thanks for being here. And I hope that if you've got any questions, you're going to pop them right in there in the chat, because we do want to make this relevant and applicable. If we have 2,000 people on this stream, that's fantastic. If we have one person and we can make a difference, that's also really important. So I would say to anybody, if you are going to an event, first of all, know that you are worthy. And I mean this. It's not if you are a new hire or you're the senior executive. Whoever you are, your story matters, and you have an opportunity to connect with someone there. And I think a lot of times people hold themselves back with their own mindset about, well, this, what's in it for me? I shouldn't be here. I'm not the senior executive. I'm not the team leader. I'm not the whatever big person on campus, but you are. So tell yourself that it's going to be great, first of all, and that you're going to enjoy it, and that your expectation is here as opposed to here. Make it realistic. And then the second thing I would say is give yourself some time so that you're not rushed as you're going to the event. Please try to just give yourself, if you don't know where the event is, maybe you have an opportunity a week in advance to kind of do a recce if you have to drive yourself or you're taking public transit, so you just don't feel that extra stress when anybody feels like they're late. It puts extra pressure on them, or they get lost. We've all been there. So plan. Also, if you're going to be meeting a couple of people, then I think it's good if you can in advance reach out to them. Say, I'm looking forward to meeting you. Find them on LinkedIn, find them on your internal Slack channel if you're in an organization and it's an organization meeting. But try to warm it up before you get there so that you don't feel so lonely as you appear to something if you're going by yourself. Next, I would spend a little bit of time picking an outfit. Whatever
Mm.
you want to wear, whatever you want to wear to be the best version of you. I like to go maybe just one step above whatever the dress code is. If it's
Oh,
casual,
really? One
oh yeah.
step above. Ah, okay. That's the trick.
If
Mm.
I'm for me, I am going to wear as classy as I can, maybe a flare from a pair of earrings, or a, a a signature ring. I do like some big rings, but I'm not going to go over flashy. I'm not going to wear a prom dress or a debutante dress to a barbecue, but I am going to wear a a smart button down or a smart polo, or probably a solid color t-shirt, and the t-shirt's going to be pressed, or it's at least not going to look like it was in the hamper or on my floor in my bedroom before I put it on. I'm going to have shorts, if I'm going to wear shorts to a barbecue, that fit and are conservative, probably for me a little bit below the mid thigh. And or I'm going to probably, for me personally, I'm probably going to wear a sundress if the weather's nice, and that dress is going to fit me right below the knee, most likely. I want us to give, I'm going to have, I'm going to be comfortable. I'm going to be able to move in whatever it is I'm wearing. I like to feel sharp and comfortable, because to me, that's my brand. Sam, is I want to be classic, but also approachable. So when people dress rumply, or they've got that, I don't know, rock and roll t-shirt, even if it's at a company barbecue, if you're aware of the signals and the messages that it sends, and you're doing it for a reason, fine. But if, and maybe it's a conversation starter, but just be very aware that what you look like is sending a message, and that we teach people how we want to be treated. So that's not
Mm.
about everybody has to wear, like I said, a prom dress or a button down shirt or a 3-piece suit. But it does mean that a little attention to grooming in the context of that culture and who you are helps set that first impression off the way you'd like. It makes you feel more comfortable too. That whole idea, when you look good, you feel good, and you're emanating that version of you. I think that's really important. And it's not to make people feel self-conscious, but the opposite. In fact, when you've got a couple of pieces in your wardrobe that you feel great in, wear them, and don't worry about if you've worn that outfit to an event the week before. Different audience, same outfit is my rule of thumb. It's fine. If you feel great about it, wear it. It's fine.
Interesting you say that, because, and I'm actually, I want to thank anyone who's viewing. We can't actually see who's viewing, which is bizarre because normally we can. But please comment and we'll be able to say hi, because Dara's just said hello and said, great to be here too. Looking forward to hearing some great tips and tricks. It's interesting you say that, because I remember I was invited to something, and it was, what was it? Casual smart. Casual smart.
Right.
And I was wondering, what do you take from that
Yeah.
casual smart for
I
someone, maybe some of the guys who are watching?
That means emphasis on the smart. It doesn't mean the jeans with the holes on it. It means the jeans that might be a little bit darker or that are better fitting. It doesn't mean slouch. It doesn't mean that you are being that hanging out in the tracksuit with your family in a Sunday morning version of you. You're being that little bit more polished version of you. It doesn't mean that it has to be starched and ironed and the latest fashion, but it does mean that you want to, again, when you have a wardrobe choice that you're comfortable in, it fits you well, and that it's not too low of a neckline for, I'm not saying that we can't be ourselves, but let's just think about who our audience is.
Yes.
Too high of a hemline, too low of a neckline for men. Is it a rumply, ill-fitting suit? Is it a pair of chinos or a pair of trousers that you still think you're a large, but you're an extra large?
Yeah.
You men, if you sit down in a button-down shirt and those buttons gape, they're in between those buttons, get a bigger shirt. People are in denial sometimes. It's not about body shaming anyone, but it's about when your clothing drapes properly or just relax on you. It just is an easier way then to move into the most important thing of all, which is, how do you have conversations? How do you cultivate your curiosity of people? How do you not suck all the oxygen out of the room and be that one that talks all the time, or the person that's hanging out by the drinks table because you're afraid to go interact with people? So having an outfit that you can take off that hanger, you put it on, you feel great. That is going to be the first step to walking into a room or walking into that garden party, and you feel like, oh, I'm comfortable to be here. Shoes, by the way, especially women, if you're going to an outdoor event, leave the heels behind, because those little pointy heels are going to stick right down in the lawn and you're going to feel uncomfortable and wobbly. And again, it doesn't give that best version of you. I was just at the U.S. Ambassador's residence on Monday evening, outdoor party celebration for Independence Day that they had. And I chose to wear sneakers. I had white leather sneakers that were kicky, but also, I think, on the nice side, but casual, because it was an outdoor barbecue style event. I did see some ladies in pointy stilettos. Maybe they thought there was going to be a platform to stand on outside, and there really wasn't. Over in the dinner tent there was, but if you want to stand out and see the band, or you want to circulate around the tables, you're going to be walking on lawn. So think about how to literally put your best foot forward.
Yes, and I was actually going to ask you about the sneakers, about the white sneakers, because a lot of people seem to wear them to those kind of events. And I was at a wedding recently in New York where it
Yeah.
was lawn, but we were told in the invites to wear a platform or flat shoes. So at least we were told in advance because I was going to wear a heel and it would have been a nightmare, you know.
Yes.
Yeah,
Espadrilles, not to get too much on women's footwear, folks, but
that's what I got. Yeah, yeah.
flat, you've got a little bit of a heel, so it might make you feel a little bit better. You might think it looks better with your outfit, but at least the profile on the ground is
Mm,
flat, so you are more stable. And again, men to bucks, or you've got a nice pair of shoes that are in that, maybe not your Air Jordans, but they're somewhere in the casual range. Wear those. Feel appropriate to the event, but also maybe just, as I said, that one notch above. So again, you stand out just a little bit more.
Well, we have a wonderful question from Kareem. Is it okay to put on traditional attires to important events?
Oh, Kareem, I've done a lot of work in Africa in particular, and I think that might be where you're what you're speaking of. And I've done a load of work in Nigeria in particular. And yes, is the answer to that. And I think that goes for any
Mhm,
culture. There
mhm.
are there, for example, the ambassador from Japan and his wife were at this US ambassadors event, and she had a beautiful traditional Japanese attire with flat shoes, by the way, like ballet sort of slippers, and she looked fantastic. And she was also emanating presence
Yeah.
and great conversation starter. Kareem, I mean, that's fantastic. If you've got in your country, if you've got your particular tribe's colors, I know Yoruba's colors might be different than Ibu's, and you're going to put your colors on, that's going to be already a conversation starter,
Yes.
especially in a multicultural setting. It's fantastic to do that. I have zero problem with that in any event, by the
Mm.
way.
And you'd actually stand out for sure. And it's a great conversation starter. And
Definitely from Nigeria.
definitely
Fantastic.
from Nigeria. Yeah, yeah. And then we have someone else mentioned no heels on boat trips. Events. Yeah.
That's a great one. Look, there's boat shoes for a reason, right? They have that little bit of a tread so that if you're on a boat, especially in weather where there might be some choppy waters and we've got some spray going onto the decking, you don't want to slip. You want to be in charge of your best version of you. Requires you to think about a little bit of practicality. So
Mhm.
if you've got that really great pair of shoes for men that have those slicky leather bases soles, leave those behind and find a pair that is a little more appropriate. If you've got a pair of khakis or trousers that you normally wear with a dress shoe, leave the dress shoe behind and wear a little bit of a tread on a sneaker. That's going to still have a professional look as you're partnering it in with the rest of the shirt as well as the trousers.
It's really interesting how much interest this topic has actually,
Oh,
and this is
thank you,
brilliant.
Ken, by the way. Thank you, Ken, for that
Yes,
very
Ken
kind.
has said you're a gift to this world. I agree, Ken. I agree. And one thing I know about Gina as well, when she shows up to an event, it's always classy and it's always on point. The way you look, and it's not all about the way you look either, though, is it, Gina? It's actually
It's
an
not
act
about the way
that,
you
yeah,
Thanks, Sam. It's not about the way you look in terms of being, oh, the latest Chanel fashions. I see Michelle has dropped in a line about where being proud as someone from Ireland, and that's where I live now, is being where someone who wears the local designer or the local up and coming whatever. And when I was first moving to Ireland, I found a boutique that was local, and I would buy from my lovely shopkeeper there. And I had women who would say, "Oh, I really like that outfit. That must be from the US." I said, "Nope, it's from Fran and Jane's, a local boutique in Cork where I was, and now up in Dublin as well." And it, again, conversation starter. And it also shows if you are in a new country and you're wearing from a local shop, that
mm,
those people that are talking to you automatically say, "Ah, she's interested in us. She's
yes.
interested in learning more." Back to Kareem's point about traditional wear, the next part about what you decide to wear is also how you show that you care. So if I see someone in traditional dress or I see an outfit that I like, I don't hesitate from saying, that looks fantastic. You look great in that. Tell me about, is there a story to that scarf or that pin? That's a great way to get people talking. At the ambassador's residence just on Monday, there was a woman in a beautiful, striking green outfit. She had sensible shoes with it, by the way. And we got to talking, and now we follow each other on Instagram. So you just never know where these appearance pieces will lead you to. And again, it's not about you being snobby or making you feel under pressure to dress a certain way, but there is maybe that one outfit in your closet that this one I feel good in, I feel comfortable in, I look sharp. Go for that.
Excellent advice. And also, Philip mentioned a great point, Gina. It's the first impression anyone in attendance will make. Yeah. And I think, as regards making an impression with how you act, Gina, have you any pointers for us for if, let's say, we are going to this casual smart barbecue, let's say, there might be drink involved, for example. So have you any tips for us there?
Well, yes. I mean, first of all, drink in moderation, unless you are the host and you know everybody. And look, I think drink in moderation is always the thing, because you want to have conversations that you are intelligent and contributing to. So that requires you to be paying some attention. You also want to remember the conversations you had the next morning so you can follow up with purpose. And oh, did I meet that person? I mean, seriously. And you don't want to be sloppy or out of control that you regret something. And I know there are plenty of people that go, oh, but it's a party. But if you're in a professional setting, put some guardrails on. Instead of 3, have 2.
Yeah.
Or also another way that I like to encourage is that you have a glass of sparkling water in between your drinks. And if you are not drinking at all and you want to still feel like you're part of the festivities, I've often gone to events where I'll say, hey, put my sparkling water in the champagne glass or the wine glass, just because I still feel a little more festive. Have a great time, but have a purposeful, controlled time so you don't regret it later.
Yes. And what about, I know that for me, there's a certain jacket, for example, that I wear that every time I wear, people go, where did you get that? But also it's about how I've treated someone. Someone would come up to me and say, oh, years and years and years and years ago, apparently, I spoke to this person and I did something. And people remember how you make them feel. So I know that you do a lot around that. And I know for anyone watching here today, for example, let's say you had to go to a conference and it's smart casual. Would you I know for me, if I'm speaking at an event, Gina, and I think you do this too, I find out this is a little tip for everyone. I find out what the brand colors are.
Oh, sure.
The place that I'm going to, and then I might wear something in those colors.
Absolutely. Last year I was in London speaking at the Work Human live event, and I was the MC, the facilitator, and I've worked with them for years, so I happen to know that one of their brand colors is bright orange and bright fuchsia, and I happen to have a fuchsia dress. Now I wanted to make sure that the whole staging wasn't wrapped in fuchsia, so I blended in.
Yes.
I can tell you a quick story about the time I did not think I was going to be on the red carpet at the Oscars in California. And so I only brought a red dress because I thought I was going to be in the stands. And they put me on the red carpet and I looked like a floating head. But the fuchsia dress that I chose for the Work Human event went over really well. And they felt like, oh gosh, you've really connected with us. So back to that point. And back to the idea of when you're there, don't wait for, even if you're not a speaker, obviously if you're a speaker, then you kind of have a little more license, you feel, and maybe a little more understanding of your role and a little more confidence to go and talk to people. And there's organizers you've been working with. But if you're coming to an event where you don't know anybody, don't wait for someone to go to you.
Yeah.
And that's hard Because again, as I said at the beginning, our self-talk often talks us out of going to meet someone for the first time, but use little hooks like, "Oh, that's an interesting tie," or, "Oh, that hat is interesting," or, "Oh, there was a lovely man who was in his 80s or so at the event on Monday with his wife." And I said, and he had a cane with a really interesting carving. And I said, "My gosh, do you mind telling me the story about this cane?" So cultivate your curiosity and use that questioning of someone in a positive way, in a generally interested way, as a bridge to get to know them. You don't have to simply say, "What brings you here and what's your business?" And you can, and
Yeah.
that's okay. I'd rather have you have a 3 or 4 already prepared little questions, which is different than you come in and introduce yourself with a long elevator speech, especially in a summertime event. It's probably more informal, like you were saying, Sam. So have a few prepared so you can say, "Hey, what brings you here?" Or, "Hey, how do you know the organizer?" or what have you. And also open your eyes, look at them, smile a little bit, look people in the eyes. Notice that interesting ring, notice that vintage watch, notice something about that person that can also be an opportunity for them to tell a story about themselves.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Before we wrap up, is there anyone in the audience that has a question? Please put it up in the comments and I will put it up on the screen. One other question then before we wrap up, Gina. For people who are a little bit shy, maybe introvert, you mentioned someone standing in the corner, for example.
Yes.
Like they probably don't want to go to the event in the first place. Have
Yes.
you any advice?
It looks like Adam's that person that feels like they were in the corner. By the way, just drink a lot of water. If
Yeah.
I was in Phoenix a couple of years ago, and yes, it is the desert of all deserts. So just drink water unabashedly. Really, there's so much wellness and so much support. People, I don't feel, even in Ireland, which has got a strong drink culture, let's face it, that there is ever a lot of pressure anymore to, "Oh, why aren't you drinking? Drink whatever you want in non-alcoholic land. There's going to be a 0 item. There's going to be sparkling water. There'll be refreshments. There'll be a virgin whatever. Drink water. It's fine. It's lovely. It cleanses you."
Actually, we have Kareem has said, sometimes I feel shy eating traditional dishes in formal dinners, especially when I can't use the fork and knife.
Well, this is interesting because, again, as Kareem, since he's from Nigeria, and I can give a shout out to anyone who's been to cultures where they don't eat with a traditional knife and a fork, and we're not talking chopsticks, we're talking pounded yam with the sauce that you take from your fingers. If you are in a traditional organized event, by all means. If you are, and I think it's important for other people to respect other cultures, if you are in a Western organized event, and you don't feel that you're going to be true to your culture, I would simply say to your neighbors, "Hey, I this is how I eat, and if you don't mind, I'd also ask for that glass of water." You know how that helps, Kareem, to have you brought over a little finger bowl, and just be discreet. Just
Mhm.
be discreet. Be you. Be aware of others, and I think that makes a lot of connections with people, because now you can have a whole conversation about, "Oh, I didn't know. What's that like? Oh, tell it." Don't be ashamed, but do explain.
Yeah, and actually, it makes it for a really interesting conversation as well. I see some comments from Adam. Hi, Adam. This is coming from X on Twitter. How about the desert in the United States? I do not drink you due to migraine. What do you recommend for states like Arizona? And I think that
Like
would
I
be
said,
water.
water. Drink a
I
lot of
think
water.
that's what Debbie said. Debbie said water.
Exactly.
Dara, I love Gina's awareness of the people around her and understanding her audience and finding little icebreakers to start conversations. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
So,
Really quickly, to Dara's point, and for all of you, having been around now at different events all over the world, from every continent except for Antarctica, and I can promise you, more people are hungry for you to pay attention to them. They would love that little notice. They would love that. Hey, can I get you anything? Hey, how is it going? Hey, what brought you here? Oh, I really like those shoes, or I like that watch. It's not about puffery and flattery that is fake. It
True.
is about heightening your awareness and cultivating an interest, and anybody can do that.
Yes. Simon actually mentions wearing Irish. Margaret Malloy, she talks about wearing Irish a lot. Yeah, so it's becoming known as well for certain things. I know that people kind of are used to me turning up in suits now, and they're always asking me, "Where did you get your suit?" And it's like it's funny because I never got comments like that, but maybe people have kind of gone away from wearing suits, females, I mean. But I don't know if that's what it is. But
Sharp
it
dressing,
gets commented on a
sharp
lot.
dressing. I know we're in a business casual world, and
Yeah.
I know that there's some discussion about top politicians, men that are not wearing ties. And of course, there's Senator Fetterman from Pennsylvania in the United States who rocks into the Senate chambers in a hoodie. A little bit of class, again,
Mhm.
it denotes respect for the office, for the position, for the people that you're meeting. It's not
Mhm.
about being untouchable in some designer bespoke suiting that nobody can understand or have relate to. But
Mm.
when you come in with just a little bit of class, sharp tailoring, a bright color, something that's fitted well. It does show I respect myself, I respect my audience, I respect the group that I'm in, and I think that people do gravitate toward that. I don't think there will ever be a day when we are still meeting face to face as humans that we're all going to just show up at a celebratory event or a professional event all in tracksuits, ripped jeans, and crumpled t-shirts. I hope not, because I think a little bit of elegance also adds to the way we interact with our communications. I don't like so sweary, so insulting, so not being having a little gravitas and dignity. I think that we need to have a little bit more of that back in
Yes.
our lives and in our professional setting. Doesn't mean you can't be human and real, but
Mm.
you can take control of the words you use and the messages you send through the clothing and the wardrobe and the grooming that you choose. It's all about choices
Mm.
and then standing behind those choices.
Lovely, lovely. Karima, how do I start well in a presentation and stand out in order to attract the audience?
The first thing, Kareem, that I would say is to avoid coming out on stage and immediately starting with that startling statistic or that provocative question or that overly theatrical intro. Instead, I don't mean that you can't have it buried in somewhere, but I would give your first couple of lines to coming out, finding your position, getting comfortable with your posture and your body language, and looking at your audience and smiling and saying, good morning, good afternoon. You might even want to do a major effect and ask people a question after you do the pleasantries, I call it. But I think the best way to get people with you is to bring them with you a little incrementally, as opposed to that power punch that makes
Mm.
people go, oh gosh, wow, that was very affected, theatrical, in my face. They might go with you eventually, but I find that the human, how would I greet somebody if I were meeting them for the first time? I wouldn't say, well, did you know that 9 out of 10? I wouldn't do that. I would say, hey,
Can you imagine?
you know, here's a startling statistic. Here's a joke. I would say, hey, Sam, it's great to know you. Thank you so much for coming, or it's great to be here with you. I would try to be human first, and then I would roll in
Yeah.
to my formal presentation. That's what I think is the most human way to bring them along with you. You can have your little skit or your little poem or your startling statistic in your back pocket, but first warm them up is my suggestion.
Absolutely. Well, Gina, I know we have, if anyone is interested, GinaLondon.com. Gina does presentations. She speaks all over the world. She's a keynote speaker, and she also has a language of leadership course. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, Gina?
Yes, I'm delighted to bring to anyone who would like to subscribe the languageofleadership.org. LOL, as it's affectionately called, is 120 videos and several PDFs that you can download, a full academy dedicated to executive presence, presentation, how to engage better with audiences, storytelling, and even business writing, how to bring your best version of you in small, snackable micro videos. And you can then do an exercise at the end and track your progress. It's on you can find it, languageofleadership.org. That's coming up there right now. And we have a wonderful summer promotion for under $200. You have access to all that material, and it's open access. So you can go and one day read about storytelling or watch storytelling, one day talk about your micro body language through your gestures and your
business presentations. You cover that as well, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. How to create them, how to deliver them. Some of the things like Kareem and others were asking about, how you become a more connecting person on stage. And we have some networking on there as well. We even have a whole downloadable on English as a second language for people who are sometimes feeling a little held back because they're self-conscious about how they speak English in an English-driven company they might find themselves in.
And isn't it funny that we actually love to hear the accent when someone else is speaking English, but yet they probably could be thinking, "Oh no, I'm not confident enough to say." It's amazing how we think ourselves sometimes can be totally different to what people see in us. So
that's true. Others' perception is not always how we see ourselves. It's an important opportunity to come to events like this, actually, to see the common shared experiences. I hope those of you that are on this are seeing other names and maybe ways that you can find them on LinkedIn or X or wherever you get your social media, so that you can continue to have these conversations. Because the thing I'm so proud of is that people want and need to connect with other people. And if I can help you have just even a little more confidence, so you can think about what's important and not overthink what isn't, there's so much more you can control. And this, I hope, has been just the beginning of what is an exciting time of recommitting to how humans connect with other humans.
Thank you very much, Gina London. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And our next LinkedIn Live will be is it July now? So it's going to be August. My goodness, already. So have a lovely summer, everybody, and enjoy those events and just be yourself. And yeah, you can watch the replay if you want to be reminded of all the tips. Thanks, Gina. Thank you so much.